Hello, and welcome to another video from Design by Torres. In this video, we're going to be making a vector image of the YouTube logo. And vector images are great when you want to enlarge something, as they don't lose any detail. And they differ from JPEGs in that they do lose quality when enlarged. And here's some information about both. Vector graphics are composed of lines and shapes. They're also based on mathematical formulas. And when you scale the vector image, there is no loss of quality. And a JPEG image is composed of colored pixels, not lines and shapes. And it does lose quality when enlarged, or after multiple edits when saved. And to show this visually, we can simply zoom in, which is the same as enlarging here. And if we zoom into this JPEG here, we will quickly see some discoloration here where the colors meet. And as we get closer, we see more of that, and we will even start to see some jagged lines. And if we go over to our vector side, and we zoom in all the way, you can see that there's no discoloration where the colors meet. And if we get even closer, you can see just how sharp that point is. And we can do this again with the Twitter logo as well. So we can zoom into the JPEG. And we see the same here. We see some discoloration, even almost another shade of blue here. And as we get closer, we start to see those jagged lines again. So we'll head back over to our Twitter vector. And as you can see, this is nice, bright, solid blue here. And as we zoom in, we again see that those lines are nice and sharp. And this basically goes on infinitely. You can enlarge this to any size and it will always stay the same. So let's go ahead and get started. So I already have some layers set up over here. First layer being our image that we were copying. I just copied from here. And the other layers are where we're going to put the final image. And to access your layers, you're going to select Shift, Control, and L. That'll bring up your layers. You can add or remove layers. You can also move them up or down as you like. So we'll start with the background here. And to make things easy, we'll go ahead and get the square, F4. And a note about when creating a square or a rectangle, if you hold the Control key, it will lock you into certain ratios, one of those being a perfect square. And in this case, we'll make the square any size, as we are simply going to copy the height and width from this image. Alright, so our background is done. And we can also change that color there. And to change the color, you can simply click F7, and that'll bring up the eyedropper. And we'll just go ahead and select that red. I'm going to lay this directly on top, and then I'm going to move it to layer 2. And to do this, you simply right-click the graphic, select Move to Layer, and then select the layer you'd like to move it to. In our case, we're going to use 2. And now it is behind layer 1. And you can also lock layers, which will allow layer 1 is locked. So this image right here will not be able to be selected, but this one on layer 2 will. You can also hide layers or show layers. And in this case, I want everything unlocked and shown. Alright. Okay, so now we're going to work on the triangle in the center. And to do this, I'm going to start with some guidelines. And to get a guideline, simply go over to this ruler at the top or the left of the screen. Click and then drag out, and you'll get some guidelines. And one important thing here is when you're setting guidelines, try to make this close to perfect. Always make sure that you are zoomed in as far as possible. And as you can see, I was a bit off, so we'll go ahead and fix those lines. Get them as close to perfect as I can. And it looks like this is a little off. That looks nice. And we'll do the same for the bottom as well as the right side. Again, we'll zoom in all the way, grab a guideline, and put it to that corner here. Alright, and now we'll do the front of the triangle. And one guideline in the center, and one at the end of that point. Pretty close. And I'm also going to do one at this section here, so we can also create that smaller triangle inside. And same idea, gonna grab a guideline, drag it to that corner, and one for the up and down. Alright, so now we have all of our guidelines set, and they look pretty straight. So now we're gonna create our shape. And to do this, you're going to click Shift and F6, and that'll bring up the node pen here. And you just click to make the shape that you like, and when you return back to the start point here, it will highlight red, and if you click, it will create your shape for you. Then you can do with that what you like. So again, we're going to do Shift and F6. And a note about guides and nodes is if you're near a guide and also have this selected here, which is snap to guidelines in different shapes, if you're over the guide, it will say handle to guide. And if you're over an intersection, it will say handle to guide intersection. So that is where we want right now, because that's going to be where those two guidelines meet. We'll do the front, same thing, intersection, the bottom, intersection, and back to the start point, that little square right there. And I'll go ahead and change this color so we can see it a little better. We'll make it an orange. Okay, and now we have our first triangle. And what I'm going to do here as well is just right click and send that to layer 2. And now for the smaller triangle. We'll again start with Shift F6 at the top intersection. Cusp node works as well. It's literally just selecting the corner of the vector, which is fine for, oh, I missed where I was going. Alright, back to an intersection, and then back up to the cusp node. And there we have our smaller triangle, which is going to be our shadow. And I will make this a little darker, and then again send that to layer 2. And if we remove or hide layer 1, we'll see that we have our background and our triangle and our shadow right there. Alright, I'm going to turn these guidelines off for a moment while we work on the last section, which is going to be this rounded, kind of an oblong rectangle here. This is going to be a little tricky, but hopefully walking through this you'll get a better idea about how to accomplish this, and you can use this in your own projects. So to start with this shape, I'm going to go ahead and make a rectangle. Again, doesn't matter what size because we'll be moving this quite a bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and resize this so that all the corners are touching. Oh, actually, I need to round it out first. And to round out a square, you simply select F2, and it'll bring up these little nodes here. And if you drag this one down, and if this was a perfect square, it would actually make a circle, which it's already in a circle. But if you have a square and you do this, it will create a perfect circle for you. So that's always good to use. So what I want to do is try to match this shape the best I can. And it's a bit too round. What I really want are those nice corners. And then again, we're going to resize this to be right, just touching the edges. And that's close enough. This won't be perfect, but it'll be close. And what we're going to do here is go to Path and Object to Path. And this will create nodes that you can then mess around with and change the shape. One issue here is that when I move one line, it moves other lines. And if you don't want that to happen, go to Path and Simplify. And what this does is it allows you to move just one section at a time. So you'll see just that one line is moving between these 2 points. Same here. Just that one line between those 2 points will move. And I say let's start with the tops and the sides. We'll go ahead and try to match this shape here. Another trick you can do here is fill and stroke, Shift Control F, and simply reduce the opacity. That way we can actually see what's behind there and kind of see if we're covering it or not. So we have the top and bottom ready. And now we'll do the sides. Again, nothing perfect here, just a quick example. So now we have those looking pretty nice, but the corners are still showing just a bit. So we're going to work those out as well. We can actually pull this just a little bit. Same with the other sides. Make sure that no white is showing. And if we go a little over, that'll be okay. Alright. So now we're going to work on these corners. And if you simply just drag this out here, and I'll make it a little bit more dramatic. If you drag it out here, you will have quite an odd shape, and it's not going to be straight. And what we want is something really smooth and straight. So to accomplish this, when you move these lines, or when you select a node, these little guidelines come out. And this is going to move this side, and this one's going to move this side. And what you want to do is you don't want these two lines to not be a straight line. You want them to be a straight line, or as straight as possible. And that will make your image as smooth as possible. So we'll try to get this, let's say it's about right here, kind of like that. And we're just going to pull out until we cover most of that white. And then again here, this one's a little crooked. So we'll go ahead and straighten this out. And by pulling in or pushing out, you're elongating that line here. And that's what we're trying to do, is just touch the edge of this image while keeping these lines straight as possible. And for me, I'd say that's decent for now. Again, you can work these until you're dead, but I'm just rushing through this so we can get a good idea of how to accomplish more. And again here, going to do the same. It's a little high, going to bring it down to about there, pull it out, and now it's just about covered that way. And same for the right side. This isn't perfect, got a little bit of space over there, but that's okay. We'll just try to make it as smooth as possible. And it looks alright. Again, for this corner, same process, straighten the line. and pull out to where you think makes the most sense. And the last corner. And that one looks decently straight. This one's a bit crooked, so we'll straighten that out and drag it down. And there we have a nice rounded shape. So again, I'm going to right click this, send it to layer 2. And now we can go ahead and lock layer 1 and then hide layer 1. Actually, I'll save it open so that we can grab some of these colors. This one is obviously white. Go back to fill and stroke, shift control F, and select 8 Fs for pure white. And it looks like our other layers must be below this, or not layers, but images within a layer. So we're going to use these tools up here to push this white down. Moved it down 1 and moved it down 2. For the middle triangle, we're going to select this same red. So F7 to bring up the eyedropper. You can even use the red on your own image. And there it is. And for the shadow, I think I'm going to select the same red, make it a bit darker, quite a bit darker I guess, and then just simply lower the opacity. And you can find a nice spot for you which seems real and gives a good feel of dimension here. And for me that looks pretty cool, and there it is. Now we have our own vector image. And to demonstrate the enlarging capabilities here, I'm going to go ahead and group these together with Control G. And I will enlarge this. So as you can see, it's quite a bit larger than our original image. But if we zoom in here, again we have a nice sharp line, no discoloration, no artifacts, and it looks great. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned a lot, and that it'll help you in your future graphic design work. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Thank you and have a great day.